Hello and a warm welcome to our election special interviews. We are in Maharashtra where there's a fierce battle for 48 Lok Sabha seats. It's a direct contest between BJP Shiv Sena versus Congress and NCP. What are the issues resonating on the ground and how are the odds stacked up against the different political parties? Joining me now is Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis. I welcome you on the program.
Thank you.
My first question to you, Mr. Fadnavis, is before we go into the political questions, is how's the Josh on the ground?
Yeah, it's very high. Okay. In fact, if you could watch all the rallies of Prime Minister Mr. Modi ji in Maharashtra, they have been record breaking. While temperature is at 42 or 43 degrees, you can see that without any pendol, lakhs and lakhs of people are standing for 3 hours in scorching heat. That shows how is Josh on ground.
What is the kind of difference which you see in the campaign of 2014 and in the campaign of 2019, if you do a little comparison between the two?
What I really see is that in 2014, the more jubilant people were the middle class. But now, along with the middle class, I think the people at the lowest strata of society are supporting Mr. Modi more. In fact, I would say that there is a silent wave amongst them. They feel that this man has delivered, he has kept promises, and he is the only person who can change the fate of this country. And so, the amount of support we are getting from them, see, these are the people who may not appear in any survey or any exit poll, or maybe even we may not be directly contacting them, but they are the ones who are actually supporting Mr. Modi.
But what is the basis of so much of confidence, especially when you talk about the people from the lower strata of the society? Like you're saying that they are witnessing a silent wave, which probably even media is not able to decipher at this point of time.
It's because of all the schemes that have reached them.
Okay.
See, in a rally, when we see many people from minorities attending a rally, it's not that we have brought them, they come there. Why do they come there? Because despite whatever is said about this party, they know that they have got a house through Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, or the lady has got a gas connection through Ujjwala Yojana. So, all these schemes have penetrated down, and they have penetrated so well that these people now understand that it's not just a talk, they are the beneficiaries. And crores of these beneficiaries understand that yes, for the first time somebody is not just speaking but delivering. Today crores of houses have toilets which were not there in 2014. So, they understand that this toilet is because of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and these people are supporting.
But the moment you talk to the opposition and counter them that, look, these are the schemes which have trickled down to the people. So, they say that, these are schemes which were started in Congress's times. These were the initiatives taken by the UPA government and now for which BJP and the NDA is taking credit.
No, I think they may be right to some extent, because the sanitation has been an issue in this country for 70 years. So, when Nehruji talked about sanitation, or for that matter Indiraji also talked about sanitation, who delivered is that matters. You have to build toilets is not a rocket science. So, you do not require somebody to bring a very vibrant technology to build a toilet. You have to deliver. For 60 years of their rule, they could build toilets which could cover only 45% of our population. There was a sanitary coverage of only 45%. Today, that coverage has gone up to 98%. That is Modi ji. That is Modi ji. That's where the credit goes. It's not what you speak, it's what you deliver. Everybody knows that you have to build roads. Everybody knows you have to build waterways. Everybody knows you have to build irrigation facilities. That's nothing new. They may have started it, but they failed on delivery, and Modi ji delivered. That's the difference.
Talking about the issues resonating on the ground, one by one, say in the urban areas and in the rural areas, what are the issues which are resonating around this contest of 2019?
See, basically, issues are there and they will always be there. What
I'm talking about the poll issues.
Yeah, I'm telling you that I'm talking poll issues. What we could find now is, on one hand, people feel that this government has delivered and the intentions of government are good, and if something has not happened, then it is only Prime Minister Modi ji who can deliver it. On the other hand, there is a huge amount of patriotism, nationalism which we could see on the ground. People feel that for the first time, India is standing tall. India is looking up. People feel the way surgical strike or air strike have happened, for the first time, India doesn't look a weak country, but it looks a very strong country. And there is a huge sense of nationalism and patriotism amongst the people which I can find on the ground.
So you see that there is, what you are saying and what I understand from you is that there is a double narrative of patriotism as well as the development.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But when the opposition makes other issues, as huge issues, like they are saying that, on issues like unemployment, rural distress, and the way the jobs have been delivered to the people because there's huge unemployment, these are the issues which are made out by the opposition. So how would really BJP counter this?
See, I would like to give a reply in two segments. Okay. One is, first let's see about what has happened in last 5 years. If you look at the NSSO survey, or if you look at the EPFO survey, or if you look at the survey conducted by CII, which is about SME, all surveys are showing robust growth in the job market. In just 6 months, NSSO shows new accounts which are opened to the tune of 89 lakh in 6 months. Or if you look at CII survey in SME, they show a robust growth in the job market. So I think when you talk about joblessness or jobless growth or people are not getting jobs, let me tell you, India is growing at 7%. Now when we talk about growth, what is growth? What is GDP? It's goods and services which are manufactured or created in a country. Now in our economy, 60% is service sector. When goods and services are developing at 7%, tell me, how can there be a scenario where there will be no jobs? Especially service sector is a sector which operates only through jobs. It operates only through creation of jobs. It's all around the world, it's the biggest creator of jobs. So on one hand, if we are the fastest growing economy with robust service sector, how can jobs not grow? So these all are, political gimmicks which they are trying to play without giving any statistics, without giving any data. On the other hand, I would like to ask, have they given any alternative? Now, what is the alternative of Mr. Rahul Gandhi? That we will give 20 lakh government jobs, 20 lakh government jobs. And it's like a, advertisement where on footnote you say conditions apply. So what he says, we will tell the state governments that fill all your vacancies. So central government is not going to do anything. If he is voted to power, he will tell Maharashtra, you fill vacancies, he will tell Odisha. How can you make, such fool of people? You are fooling people. So you don't have any program. Okay, if they say that, look, the job growth is this and we will take it to this, and this is our strategy. They have no strategy.
But Mr. Fadnavis, whenever you throw data of jobs and the way the service sector is growing, the GDP, the growing economy, opposition will always come back at the media saying that you guys did not report that Modi ji is not letting the institutions grow. The data is being hidden by the government institutions. So how does the government counter this?
One thing is that in this country, we have created independent institutions, and these institutions have been working for so much of time. No government has been able to fudge the data, and whenever any government has tried, it has failed. And let me tell you, forget the institutions in India. Why does IMF says that India is the fastest growing economy? IMF has its own sources, they have their own data, they have their own samples. Why does our rating is kept high by Moody? Why does all the international institutions who matter in the fiscal world say that India has surpassed China in the growth rate? All of them say one thing, and you are actually negating that. You are saying all of them are speaking falsehood, and only what Mr. Rahul Gandhi or Mr. Sharad Pawar or all those people from the opposition, they say that is right. They should come with real data. Let them bring the data from any credible institution. We are ready to debate. They have no credibility, they have no credible institution. It's only when you have no credibility, you can speak anything, they are speaking anything.
You just spoke about this coalition of Congress, NCP and other parties which have come together. Does it worry BJP Shiv Sena at all, the way this coalition has bandied together for this election?
No, we are absolutely not worried. BJP Shiv Sena is such a combination on the ground that we will rout them. Mark my words, we will rout Congress NCP from Maharashtra.
But obviously opposition will say that, you know, we've seen a embittered enmity between BJP and Shiv Sena for the last almost 2 years or 3 years. There's been a muscle flexing almost constantly between BJP and Shiv Sena. So do you think that the cadres of both the parties can really join hands with the kind of bitter feelings which we have seen in the past? And always Shiv Sena has tried to be the big brother for the BJP?
No, I think the cadre has already started working. See, we have been in alliance for 30 years. Out of those 30 years, we had differences for 3 years. Despite differences, we were running a coalition government. We did not fail apart. We were together. We were running a coalition government in Maharashtra. We took all decisions unanimously. And it's a very natural type of alliance. Why? You know, because it's a alliance of ideology. There is a thread of ideology which binds BJP and Shiv Sena, and that is why the moment we came together, our cadres started working together.
But when media reports came out of strain between BJP and Shiv Sena in the past, it actually dented the credibility of the government. But my question to you is that how are you doing the balancing act, you know, so that the governance in the state doesn't get compromised at all?
You see, that time also I was constantly telling that these are differences which are blown out of proportion. Differences are not to that extent. We have difference of opinion on certain issues. Broadly, we are together. And in last 4 years, although everybody thought that this alliance will fall apart, it didn't, because I for last 4 years was telling that in the Lok Sabha election and Vidhan Sabha, in both elections we will be together. And we are together now.
So who is the big brother between the two?
No, it's not nothing like, it's not like that. No big brother, no. You see, these are all jumlas which, you know, the media requires. They may be happy with all those jumlas, but we are okay.
Coming to the pockets like Vidarbha, where we've seen farmer suicides in the past, a lot of rural distress has taken place. We've seen farmers marching, you know, from one region up to Mumbai. What do you think is the biggest reason for this kind of unrest which was seen in the past?
I think the biggest failure of Indian media, biggest failure, is the march which was shown as farmers marched.
Okay.
All of them were tribals. They were not farmers. They wanted the land rights. We have one act which gives right to the tribals, tenurial right of the land to the tribals. And in the last government, the government did not do it. And that is why these people started from Nasik and came to Mumbai. When they came to Mumbai, we talked to them, we engaged with them, we told them what measures we have taken, we gave them schedule, and today Maharashtra is number 1 state in India which has given land rights to the tribals. In last 6 months, we have given land rights to 1,50,000 tribals. Entire media, especially national media, was showing that it's a farmers' march. What were their demands? All demands were tribal demands, not a single demand of farmer.
So you agree that there could have been better communication on the part of the government at that time to project that this is not a farmers' unrest, this is an issue which is related to the tribals?
I told, when the media asked me, I told them that it's not a farmers' march. Okay. But it's like one media house started saying farmers' march.
Follow.
Everybody said farmers' march. I would say that's the biggest failure on the part of media, biggest failure, that they didn't even understand that the coming people are tribals, they are not farmers, they don't have land, they have not been farming, they did not know.
So because of this wrong reporting on the part of the media, you felt that the image of the government really got dented at that point of time, or you've come out of it?
No, I think that the way we handled, because the media was sensing that there will be huge issue in Mumbai and lot of things would happen in Mumbai. Nothing happened. They came, we sat, we discussed, they were happy, we arranged trains for them and they went back. That is democracy.
So the credit for this is to BJP or Mr. Fadnavis, because you were the person sitting there like a troubleshooter, tackling all the problems one by one.
How can you separate me from BJP? It's only because of BJP Mr. Fadnavis is here. So credit should go to the BJP only.
But aren't you seen as the biggest troubleshooter for the NDA when it comes to Maharashtra? Whatever problems came your way.
See, people thought, especially people in opposition, they thought that they will be easily able to dislodge me.
Right.
So they started creating troubles. We could sense it. So one after other, they started instigating people, bringing communities in front of each other. Lot of backroom maneuvering was going on. But those who were loyal to the cause, when they engaged with us, they found out that we are also loyal. We are also having good intentions. And we solved their problems. And that is why we could do the troubleshooting. You cannot troubleshoot just by politics. You have to deliver, and through delivery you can troubleshoot. That's what we could do.
About the farmers' marches, you said that you were able to contain the problem because it was an issue related to the tribals, which you resolved, you engaged in talks and it got sorted out. But what about issues like the way the caste factor played out? Because we saw a Maratha agitation, the OBC agitation, and the way Prakash Ambedkar, who is part of this Vanchit coalition now, what kind of an impact is this going to have in the coming elections?
I don't think it will have a major impact.
Okay.
So far as Maratha reservation is concerned, we appointed a backward class commission. Its report was accepted. The report was converted into a law. Act was enacted, and we have given reservation to the Maratha community. So far as OBC community is concerned, we have already created a separate OBC ministry. We have allocated 3,000 crores for that, and all those demands which the OBC community was actually demanding for years, we have almost fulfilled most of them. Again, if you look at different communities, in fact, people tried, especially opposition tried, to bring these communities in front of each other so that there is a communal tension. But we tactfully and with engagement avoided that. We told them that it's not good for our state that two communities come in front of each other and create a communal tension. And fortunately, they also agreed. So nothing happened. We engaged with them and we could actually address their issues. So far as Mr. Ambedkar is concerned, he has created this Vanchit Aghadi. Who he calls Vanchit? Who are they? These are small in the sense small by population, small communities from OBC, which were ignored by the earlier government. They were originally a vote bank of Congress NCP, but with the ignorance which they could, or with what treatment they got, they actually parted from Congress NCP. A big chunk of them came to BJP and the rest went to Vanchit.
So how do you see the division of votes or the vote transfer happening? If you're saying that, that was the vote bank of the Congress and the NCP, which Ambedkar now is trying to consolidate through these small groupings, how do you see the votes being divided? Does it stand, does BJP Shiv Sena stand to gain from it, or the benefit goes to the Congress and the BJP, NCP?
One thing is sure, that those who have been diverted to Vanchit will dent Congress NCP, that is for sure. But at the same time, we are not looking at division. We are looking for a positive vote, a vote on what we could do. We are going to people, we are telling them what we did, and we are asking for a positive vote.
But why do you think, despite all the development which has happened for the past 5 years and the way the delivery schemes have reached the people, why do we see a reinvigorated opposition? All of a sudden, we see a spring in the feet of Congress and NCP, and elsewhere, if you see across the states, the way Samajwadi Party and the BSP have come together, state-specific alliances. So the opposition looks very invigorated. What's the reason? What is your assessment?
What I feel is, the opposition is frustrated.
Okay.
Opposition is fighting like it's their last battle. With what Mr. Modi ji could achieve in last 5 years, the opposition, especially those parties which could not see eye to eye, which could not even meet face to face, are coming together. Credit should go to Mr. Narendra Modi. It's only because of him that they felt,
come together.
They felt that now their existence is in question. But howsoever alliance they built, it's a very artificial alliance. There is no common thread. The only common thread is opposing Mr. Modi, and people in this country would not like that. So this opposition, I would say, is a very frustrated opposition. See what Mamata Didi is saying. Is she telling how she will run country? No. She says, we don't want Modi. What Mayawati ji or Akhilesh ji are saying, are they telling how would they run this country, what schemes they would bring, what changes they would?
Congress is talking about the Nyunatam Aay Yojana, Nyay, which
that's the, I think, biggest thing which they have. I mean, Congress has fooled people for years together, but this is the biggest attempt of Congress to fool the people. Now, when they say that Nyay, people have asked them time and again that from where are they going to bring these resources? With 20 or 25 lakh crores of budget, if every year you say that we will spend some odd 4 or 5 lakh crores which are non-productive as doles, is this country going to survive? And what about rest of the population?
They do not have a clear answer on whether they remove the subsidies.
See, I saw one of the interviews or one of the talks by Mr. Kapil Sibal, where he said, we are not going to start it immediately. There will be a pilot project, then it will be actually taken to one state, and 3-4 years will take it to the entire nation. This itself explains that they have no idea. We are a party which is going to come to power. We have to be responsible in giving assurances to people. They know that they are not going to come to power. Tomorrow Rahul Gandhi ji may also say that I will build Taj Mahal for every Garib, I will give a swimming pool to every middle class. They can say that. But Where is the credibility? Just tell me, any single person have you find on ground saying that yes, I believe that Rahul ji will give me 70,000? Not a single person.
Coming to the Maharashtra politics also, because after the general elections, just 6-7 years, months down the line, you have the state elections also coming up. And talking purely in terms of the Maharashtra matrix, a lot of reports coming out that Maharashtra politics, after many years, is a direct contest between Sharad Pawar and Devendra Fadnavis. How much of that is true? Because you are looking at wiping out the dominance of the Pawar family, Sharad Pawar especially.
Sharad Pawar ji is a very big leader. I am a very small leader. I've developed in last 20 years, 25 years. He has an experience of more than 50 years. So, I won't say that I am in any direct contest with Mr. Pawar. However, let me tell you, we want to wipe out the legacy of Congress NCP in this state, the legacy of corruption, the legacy of nepotism, the legacy of self-centered politics, and to some extent we have been successfully doing that, and in future also we will do that.
Your comparison is also often made in the sense that, you know, when people like Yogi Adityanath, they are traveling across the country campaigning. So when you are such a potent leader for BJP, who's shown in the last 5 years what you've done for the state and the way you have risen amongst the ranks, why are you not touring across the country? Because chief ministers are always a projection of what the government is doing.
One thing is that my party gives me tours outside. I have been to Gujarat. Today I am going to Goa. I will be also going to a few other states. But it's not like that. You see, Yogi Adityanath ji has an appeal amongst masses. Pan India, if you see, Modi ji, Amit Shah ji, Yogi ji, people want them to come. They have an appeal. So wherever Yogi ji goes, people gather. Huge crowds gather. And I think that's why party wants him to go, because he can communicate to those people what is the ideology of party, on what promises we are fighting the election. So that's nothing wrong. Wherever party will feel that I am of a use, that by sending me they will be able to communicate more, they will send me there.
2014 was a purely wave election. There was a Modi wave all across. 5 years down the line, if I have to ask you, does the Modi wave exist? What is your answer?
On 23rd May, you will see that there is a bigger Modi wave. And mind well, I will repeat it, that the wave which was amongst the middle class, that is already there, but a wave, a very silent wave, which nobody can assess, which is amongst the people who don't speak, who don't express, that wave will make, these two waves will make it a tsunami.
Wow. Mr. Fadnavis is going to deliver how many seats in Maharashtra for BJP?
Our best was the 2014. We got 42 seats, BJP, Shiv Sena together. I think we will cross that. Our new best can be seen in this election.
It was a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Fadnavis. So that's it on this episode of our election trail interview. See you in another state with another personality. Goodbye and thanks for your time.